expensive, according to the World Bank Ghana boss in country, Pierre Frank Laporte. $937.5 million dollars paid in 4 years for power not consumed, major contributor to Ghana's debt woes. And Dr. Akuto will cause an upset to win MPP primary campaign team. That's what we have here on the front page of the Finder newspaper. And the Inquisitor says CDS retirement nears, serious lobbying going on. 2 top ex-military officers on Nane's neck to have favorite appointed. Sami Oku cut sword for ultramodern basketball volleyball court in Okwapeman School. And civil service honors Napo for outstanding leadership. McDan rallies Africa private development sector for the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. The Energy Digest this morning says gas prices triple in Nigeria as new leader triggers panic buying by halting subsidies. Energy transition experts warn of possible job cuts, and if inadequate gas supply causes recent power outages. ECGMD and gold for oil. Bank of Ghana not pulling out, according to Ejapa Mesa. Well, Seaboard not opposed to gold for oil, boss managing strategic stocks. That's according to the CEO of Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors. The Publisher newspaper says SHS2 lover girl killed. Police chase suspect boyfriend. Nogopo runs after Janasari leaves for America. ESLA urges Africa leaders to address disaster warning. NPA seizes 181,000 liters of crude oil, diesel in the western region. And the Ghanaian Observer, government will be swift with economic recovery. Oforiata, let's rally behind Vice President Bawumia for victory. 2022, Ali Suraj, government to clear arrears, old school feeding caterers. They've been on strike for some time now. MPA seizes 181k liters of smuggled fuel. We told you about that. The Supreme newspaper says AFA, Ashanti region, takes the lead in endorsing Bawumia's nomination for Mayawa. So West MP fruitful constituency engagement with the constituents wins had NADMO trained MOFA district staff on agriculture early warning systems. NPA impounds 181 latest. McDan rallies Africa private sector for after, and NPP can break the 8 in 2024 but needs to be politically strategic, Secretary Chief says so. And finally, the BNFT, high levels of lead pollution in Ashaman worrying Omni BSC Bank partner PAPS to enhance cross-border payments, performs first transaction in Nigeria. Puma Energy commits to investment in infrastructure. Greek minister preaches vigilance in cocoa framework with Cote d'Ivoire. GATAC hosts second Global Africa Dialogue, business dialogue. Those are the stories we have on the front page there. I've been joined by a free. Sorry, but good morning, my brother. How you doing?
Good morning, Mr. Hughes.
You good?
I'm good. Your shirt is nice.
I borrowed it. Thank you. Anyway, but it's made by. It was made by Grandpa.
I forgot to say I'm greater than Accra.
Those are my lines.
And I miss Felicity. I'll have to tell you today is better than yesterday.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Let's get into the details of the dailies now this morning. And where shall we begin? We begin with the Finder newspaper. I see something on the front page of the Finder newspaper where it suggests that our current debt stock has been occasioned by power contracts that are expensive, which we do not need, which we've been paying for 4 years. For power not consumed. That's what's there. Now, a bit of a story says that it's the story by its editor, Elvis Darko. Now, contrary to accusations of reckless borrowing sinking Ghana into a debt crisis, World Bank Country Director of Ghana, Pierre Frank Laporte, has confirmed that Ghana's energy sector debt is a major contributor to the country's debt woes. According to him, one of the major factors the World Bank has identified as driving the country's debt situations is the energy sector. Laporte said the deficiencies in the energy sector, characterized by the tariff system and management issues, coupled with expensive power purchases by the state, in addition to the transmission losses, were the major problems in the energy sector driving Ghana's debt. So 5 issues at least that I can place a finger on. Tariff issues, 1.
Yeah.
Expensive power purchasing agreements, 2. Paying for power that has not been consumed, 3. wrong rates and the wrong price, energy sector shortfall, and all of that. And then those who are also owing and not paying. These are, but over the weekend, interestingly, I've had some senior MPP members asking, the money, is not our fault, because the World Bank director has been saying that, we contracted power that we didn't need and all of that. And I laughed because I found it quite strange that suddenly people have found their voices and they are interested in telling me what should be said.
With this issue of we paying for power that we don't need, okay, I don't think the World Bank boss is the first person to say it. This is an argument that the MPP has made all over the years. You understand? But to conclude that it is that power purchase that is really sinking our economy, it's oversimplification. Is an oversimplification of the whole situation. But then I want to say that, yes, indeed, there are challenges with the energy sector. For example, the tariff issue they are talking about. I still think that we can even pay less and still ECG and all the power producers will be in business. But the issue is that a lot of people are stealing power. Not because they want to steal. There are some who are stealing power because all effort to get a meter has proven futile. Someone has bought the house. The person has bought the pole, the light pole, the pole, done all the connections. It's left with the meter. The person has been chasing ECG for meter.
But if the meters are not available, it doesn't also guarantee and give you the authority to go and steal from the state.
That's what I'm saying. That the person needs the power.
Right.
Meanwhile, you have power in excess. So if you have power in excess, why can't you distribute it to everybody?
Well, that's a fair point to make, but to the extent that some of the areas have not been zoned yet. So, people go and, I've always said this, the structure of development is that you identify a place, you plan, you build,
that's right,
and then you inhabit. We identify a place, we build, inhabit before we begin planning. By which time it will be too late.
But
So for example, the ECG has told us that if you go and build in an area that they already aren't present and you want power at all cost, the cost of pulling the power from the transmitter, as it were, all the way to your place with the poles and meter and everything wise will become your cost. Because it's not a serviced plot.
That's right.
Already. So we need to understand the dynamics.
Yes, we understand.
But I agree with you that people steal power. People use power without paying for them.
That's right.
There are also, and I don't know why the folks are just fixated on excess power, because the common sense question to ask is that I have excess power for areas that are already connected, not the new areas that have been chasing meters. Why does my life still have to go on? If you have excess, you have excess rice in your kitchen and your child is hungry and you come and join and say, I have excess food, but the children are hungry.
And even it is happening in areas that are already having
that's what I'm saying.
So, are there.
Okay.
And again, so what prevents the ECG from planning ahead? You know what? I think that this problem will persist as far as we refuse to plan and go according to the plan. When did Kaswa become that developed? I thought that the state will move in as quickly as possible to make sure that they service the plot before the chiefs, started selling them.
Right.
But they sat aloof, and the harm has already been done. So for me, it is unfortunate. But those things that have caused our economy to sink deep into the ditch, are beyond the excess power we have. And the fact that we have excess power means that we are not developing. If you look at the utilitarian theory of development, the more energy you consume, the more developed you are.
Right.
This is a situation we have in Ghana. We are not consuming it. So you are not developing.
Well, let's welcome William. William, good morning.
Willie?
How you doing?
Perfect by grace.
Had a great weekend?
Perfect. Everything's smooth.
Like
ice.
Yeah, but Johnny, I'm not used to William in the everyday normal shirt. I'm not used to him.
Allow the man to feel
I'm not
free.
used to,
Allow the man to feel
I'm not
free.
used to that. No,
The man said he had a great weekend. Allow the man to feel free. Allow the man to feel
He has
free.
unique
Allow the man
style
to
there,
feel
but
free. Let's
come to a popular
let's spend the time talking about ECG. William, what's your own view about the power contracts which the World Bank boss says that is what is contributing to Ghana's debt position at this point? But he also mentions some other issues. For example, expensive power purchasing agreement is one. The tariff issues is another. Transmission losses is another. People stealing power is another. People consuming power and not paying. Recently, we just heard that the former deputy minister, Ahom Kalim, a former boss at the GIPC, was disconnected because he owed so much and he had literally refused to pay and all of that. What do you say?
If we look at developments, I would say that electricity is the blood that runs through the vein of every developmental agenda. So if you don't take it seriously, we would have problems. New areas. I remember when we moved to our new area, there was a program called the SHEP. If I got
yes,
that,
the SHEP, right.
Where people were using electricity without paying. They were not paying about 7 years straight.
Yeah.
Because they used to call something political meters. I sat on a show with an MP who agreed that they go in and then they get the meters for the people because they are poor. It's a new community, and ECG it's not, those meters are not even registered in the ECG system.
Yeah.
So some used
that
power.
Started from the Rawlings era,
so
actually.
People use power for almost 7 years back to back without paying 1 cedi.
An expensive gadgets.
Yes, that's number one. Number two, wiring. And it's until recently that the government has launched a project where every electrician is supposed to have some certification to know that, to ensure that you go to a place to wire because you are qualified to wire. Because if you don't do the wiring right, inferior wiring,
earthing system,
exactly, this leads to waste. Secondly, acquisition of the meters itself becomes a problem. So people just bypass the system, and people openly steal the power. They put all their very high consuming equipment outside the metering system. Air conditioners, fridges will not be in.
Washing machines,
and these are done with people who know the system, because I cannot go and do that bypassing my house.
They beat the system.
Yes. So all the issues that the report is indicating, they are on the ground. But what I cannot talk much about is the political decision to engage in the power, because that one, well, if a new government comes, they can look at it. But the constant ones, like power theft, if you go to the UK and it's winter time, depending on who you are staying with, they control even how much air condition, the heater you use.
You pay.
You
pay. Actually,
if you are staying with your friend, Charlie, the heater,
slow down. Charlie,
because they're everything. If you don't pay your rent, you stay outside. So it's important that we also recognize that some of these things cannot go for free. But it doesn't also mean that the system should not take care of the power theft, where government agencies also use power back to back without paying. So when it comes to government agencies, the power appears to be free. They don't pay. Why? Recently, ECG went out and they recouped about 5 point something billion.
A lot of them,
That was, I think the target was 5.2 billion, and they made so much, about 80%.
About 3
and just last week, they've launched another. That's how we should go. Now, having said that, it is also important that the equipment that we bring in, because we're a third world country, we are prone to buying things like refrigerators,
energy efficiency.
Exactly. That's there's another law that the Energy Commission is trying to enforce. Recently, there were some issues around the La Paz area where the fridge and equipment sellers were, contesting that move. But in the long term, it will help us. It's also important that we look at how the ECG is equipped to collect the
revenue.
The revenue. They have to find modern ways of collecting, because sometimes you want to even buy electricity. Depending on where you live, you have to. If you go here, the shop is closed. Sometimes this shop is open for you to go and buy credits. So if I know that this is going to give me a problem, I will stay in heat. Then people are bypassing
the system. Yeah. It's true.
You know.
I mean, I'm asking this, and very, very strong point you raised there. These are points that we have always known. For example, this new drive by Mr. Mahama at the ECG trying to rake in revenue. Anas did a documentary when told us how people were bypassing the system, the big companies that owed us. Did we collect the monies then? Now, we are doing this revenue mobilization because there's an IMF in town. And the IMF is asking you to focus. But we brought in PDS, right? We brought in PDS to answer that conundrum, this one. Because we said ECG was not being efficient in revenue collection, in the transmission losses, people bypassing the system. You remember that's why we brought in PDS.
PDS.
And we even brought in, that was the first time I had conditions precedent and conditions subsequent. Where conditions that were supposed to have been satisfied before, some of them were moved, about 15 or so of them were moved into conditions subsequent. So we decided to re-engineer the process that has worked elsewhere. Eventually, PDS crashed. Nobody was held accountable. So for me, when you have government functionaries going to town with Mohammed's power cuts, power contracts is expensive, that's what is drowning us. And they leave all the foundational issues have been left. And they are not looking at the peripheral issues. There's a problem. There's a problem.
It's an oversimplification of the situation.
So if the contract is expensive,
cancel it.
And we are able to collect the revenue, collect revenue, appropriate, fees. We can sustain it. Because since MPP came, we haven't had any major power crisis. So now Mr. Mahama is collecting. Mr. Mahama, the ECG boss, not the former president.
Just say Lawyer Mahama.
Lawyer Mahama is doing what they were supposed to do in the past. And electricity is not cheap.
Not at all.
It is not. Electricity is not cheap.
Power is expensive.
Very, very expensive. So, if we get a contract that is expensive, we could have gotten it cheaper. Fine. But I'm saying that at least it's sustained. We've had sustainable power supply for some time. For the past 6.5 years, it's not been that bad. So, if PDS field and ECG is back, and we are all supporting Lawyer Mahama, there should be no way we should stop the way the drive is to collect the monies.
There's too much politics around.
That's the point.
ECG. Look, I tell you what. In terms of even the tariffs, right? William said power is expensive, which we all agree. But these same politicians, one comes and says, I want to subsidize. Another comes and says, I want to subsidize even more. And then they come back to, people run to PRC, ECG go and make a fine case. PRC will give them whatever it is that. Because now tariffs have gone up. Because of the proposal PRC made to the ECG. But the politician is always in there somewhere.
You know, Johnny.
To the extent that the politicians are the ones encouraging us to use prepaid meters. And we are now learning from the revenue drive by the ECG that politicians actually still have postpaid meters in their homes. So they have cooked something for us. And they are enjoying a different kettle of fish.
The other time when they engaged the director in charge of, or the manager in charge of metering,
yes.
And then the PRO. They mentioned it. We have so many types of meters in the system.
Right.
That one is one of the problems we have. And again, I think that Ghanaians must sit up. ECG does not have the capacity as of now to ensure that everybody is paying. But we can be watchdogs, okay? We can be whistleblowers.
I disagree with that thought. You see, and I'll go back to the PDS days.
Yeah.
When PDS came, they didn't bring any new staff.
Yeah.
PDS used the staff of ECG, who were bastardized.
Yeah.
PDS didn't bring anybody from anywhere, aside those at the top, a few of the persons at the top. But even that, PDS really did not bring any. They used the same revenue guys, the same guys on the field.
Yes.
And then they raked in money. And then people were scared to even do illegal connection.
And the
so
money
how is it that the same people are there? And then ECG has been reinstated. and we still have the problems that we're having.
So does it mean that the problem is with ECG?
It's a management
and
problem.
Not the PDS,
it's a management problem.
But Johnny, the fact you made it right, you said it right. You know, any political solution that I've come across always end up being inefficient or inappropriate. On the facial level, you think that, oh, this is the solution. But at the long run, you realize that that solution was actually some 50%, efficient. So we should be moving to technical solutions than political solutions. But the politicians won't allow that. Because when the solution is technical and it's left for the technical people to champion, hardly will the politician get something.
I hear you. Well, let's move away from this one. William, boss at the Perez Chapel, has announced a one week fasting. You know, the folks at Nogokpo have not been too happy with him with some pronouncement he made. Subsequently, he apologized and they summoned him in 14 days to appear before the people, the chiefs and the council of Nogokpo. Archbishop Ajinasare is out of the country, but yesterday, my understanding is that he declared a week-long fast over the controversy. So, more like Amagani Amagashia. Is that what you see too?
Oh, well, Ghana is not a country where we have religious clashes. I don't see that the way you put it, as if there's going to be a show. Is it a spiritual show of power or physical show of power?
The Nogokpo guy said they will show the Archbishop who controls cosmic power.
That's what I'm saying.
And then he has also asked his people to go on a week-long fast and pray over the controversy.
If he stays there, in the spiritual realm, I don't have a problem. But where the cosmic power will drop to land power, where individuals will take arms, that's where the problem will come.
And go at each other.
Because we know what has happened in terms of religion and ethnic differences around the world. So if they will stay in the spiritual realm and do the prayers and the incantations on one side and whatever it is, that's fine. I mean, but we're just praying that the Archbishop, if he has time, will come back to Ghana and find a way to sort it out. Because I don't think his mission is to show any superiority physically. It is a spiritual warfare. If that's what he is, that's his business. That's his business. So if he has asked his people to pray or fast, that's his business. That is what he's supposed to do as a pastor. But the